The moon landings from the Vedic perspective. I want to start by defining what this presentation is not about. I would not be dealing with the sending of non-living things like probes to the moon and beyond. I am focused instead on conscious human beings landing on the moon. And there is a difference because machines can only detect things they're designed to detect. From the Vedic and other perspectives, humans not only have souls, but subtle senses beyond those of our physical ones. I'm also not going to focus on the conspiracy aspect regarding whether NASA actually did send men to the moon or not, although personally I am suspicious. I'll tell you why. After all, there's an issue regarding the crossing of the Van Allen radiation belt, and there's quite a lot of suspect photographs and film footage, what to speak of the technology at the time. Now, if you ask a random person what they think the Earth-Moon distance looks like, most thinks it looks perhaps something a little bit like this. But actually, it's more like this. And the average distance between the two is about 238,855 miles. It's a long way. Now then, let's get closer to the Earth on this one. Now, if you have a look here at this orbit of the Earth of about 260 miles above the Earth, that is the location of the modern International Space Station. It's hardly space, it's more like basic orbit. Look at it again. There were 6 crewed journeys, landings and returns between 1969 and 1972 with no major problems. With 1960s technology? It's a bit suspicious in my opinion. Now, when the first moon landing was first televised in 1969, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada was watching it from London. But he was immediately a bit of a skeptic, but for different reasons given by most conspiracy theorists. They were showing the surface of the moon, of course, a bit like this, a grey desert. Yet, Prabhupada didn't accept that. In his purports to Srimad Bhagavatam 646 and 8534, he basically said since the moon god is the presiding deity of vegetation, there must be vegetation on the moon, and yet the scientists say it is a barren desert. The celestial Vedic white moon is situated in the third status of the upper planetary systems, quote from Bhagavatam there. Kusha grass flames give it a mild and pleasing brightness, and elevated souls live there for 10,000 earth years and enjoy life by drinking Soma Ras. So the earth is not a desert, according to Prabhupada and others. It's a bit more like this, and this is the moon god Chandra. In an interview with a Los Angeles Times reporter in 1968, the reporter asked Prabhupada, "And how would you describe these people that live there? Would they be invisible to us or visible?" Prabhupada, "Almost invisible, yes." "Like ghost bodies, subtle bodies?" Prabhupada, "Yes." Also, another difference, the Vedic moon includes the flow of the celestial Ganges from the higher planets. When Lord Vamanadev pierced the top of the universe with this toe there, in came the transcendental causal ocean there, right from the top of the universe, right from top down past the pole star Dhruvaloka, past the Big Dipper, Seven Sages constellation, through a populated area of the universe, then onto the moon, from the moon down to the top of Mount Meru. And there the celestial Ganges split into 4 directions, there from the top of Mount Meru, onto Lord Shiva's head, who protects it from damaging the earth, and to the physical, if you like, Ganges that we can perceive on the earth today. Yet, the Surya Siddhanta's view of the moon is quite similar to the modern one. Let me explain. This is here showing the Earth-Moon, representing the Earth-Moon distance, and the diameter of the moon modern is about 2,159 miles, and the average distance, as mentioned, is nearly 240,000 miles. In the Surya Siddhanta, if one does one's calculations, the moon is slightly larger and slightly further away, but it's pretty much the same. Let's look at limitations of modern humans reaching the moon. In Bhagavatam 2.3.11 purport, Prabhupada writes, "They are creating a great commotion about reaching the closest celestial body, Chandraloka or the moon, but even after much mechanical research they have only very scantily information on this moon, and in spite of such false advertisement for selling land on the moon, the puffed up scientists or gross materialists cannot live there, what to speak of reaching the other planets, which they are unable to even count." 1.5.18 purport Bhagavatam, Some are trying to reach the moon by some mechanical arrangement, but that is not to happen. By the law of the Supreme, different places are meant for different grades of living beings according to the work they have performed. So someone like Narad Muni or another celestial space person or yogi they can go to the moon. Bhagavatam 8.11.5 purport. Indra, the king of the higher planetary system, has the power to push down any conditioned soul attempting to go from the lower to the higher planets without proper qualifications. The modern attempt to go to the moon is also an attempt by inferior men to go to Swargaloka by artificial, mechanical means. This attempt cannot be successful. So the Apollo crew, Neil Armstrong and his team, would they be able to go to the moon, the celestial one? It's pretty doubtful. Yet all probes, telescopes, space agencies, etc. agree that what we call the moon is indeed a grey, dusty place. So how can we reconcile this thing? Well, let me suggest the following. This, the sphere here, represents the sphere of Vedic astronomy. This is Vedic astrology and the celestial vision. Let's look where they all cross over as a way forward. Introducing Rahu, which of course is the solar eclipse. It's a graha in Vedic culture. It means a celestial body in Vedic astrology which moves and has meaning. Prabhupada's quote Bhagavatam 4.29.69 purport. The darkness occurring before the full moon can be explained as being another planet, known as Rahu. In other words, those who are supposed to be going to the moon are not going to the moon, but to the planet Rahu. First of all, let's just touch on what a solar eclipse is, not to scale. Of course, there's the point where the moon, of course, gets in between the sun's rays and the earth and casts basically a shadow on certain parts of the earth at certain times. But that area there, of course, is called Rahu, is regarded separately. In the Vedic view, it's a separate entity from the moon, and it reflects no light at all from the earth. Of course, looking on the other side of the earth, of course, is the lunar eclipse, which of course is basically the other side of the earth. That is called Ketu. This relates to the story of Rahu, the demon who has his head removed because of bad behavior, basically, and that becomes Rahu, as in the Graha Rahu, and his body is the Graha Ketu. They understand to be the head and the tail, these two nodes of the dragon. Now, in Vedic astrology, Rahu is the master of deception, mystery, and illusion. So does going to Rahu represent the demoniac mentality of faking the moon landings? And Prabhupada was talking allegorically. It's a possibility. If we also look at the time for the chart, actually, for the moon landing, 20th of July 1969 at about nearly 11 o'clock in the evening, terrestrial location, we're selecting Washington. It has a black moon zilith, represents the dark side of one's personality, relating to falsehood, cheating, and primitive impulses. So, again, a bit of a stab there at the genuine moon landing, but let's entertain the possibility that what the probes and satellites see of the moon's surface is Rahu. The specific differences between the celestial moon and the Rahu from the Vedic perspective, we need to understand that. Let's delve into the Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 5. And also note the Bhagavad Varanam by Varivraj Tirtha from the Madhva Sampradaya, its reference to the Bhagavatam, 5th canto. The Rahu Mandala, the root of Rahu's circuit, is situated 10,000 yojanas, that's 80,000 miles, below the level of the sun's path. Look, this represents here the 5th canto's geocentric relationship between the earth and sun within the concentric circles of Bhumandala. For more information about this, please see one of my other presentations. However, let's go on. Antariksha, which is the local physical space, especially between the earth and the sun. Note here, this represents the base level of Bhumandala from the side, slowly slipping down there, closing in here a little bit closer to the earth for the next part. Now then, here's where Rahu is 80,000 miles below the level there, the ecliptic path of the sun, but also it's above Bhumandala, and this way it can be explained. Incidentally, Rakshasas, ghosts and Yakshasas are actually also between Rahu and the earth. And there's Rahu there, just stepping a little bit further, and there's Ketu on the other side. This, of course, is the north and south nodes of the moon in their circuit. To explain more, we need to explore the vertical aspect of the Vedic universe. In light of the Bhagavat, Srila Prabhupada writes that to reach the moon, it is first necessary to cross the Manasa Lake and Smeru mountain. So, if we understand this, we have to know a little bit more Jambudri, more information in my other presentation. There's the Earth. To go up past the Manasa Lake and up Mount Meru mountain, one passes the rays of the sun, and therefore first, before reaching the level of the celestial moon. Rahu is nearer to the Earth and is below this level. The vertical dimension of the Vedic universe includes subtle as well as gross material forms. The higher you go, the more subtle the form. Let me explain. In Conversations with Prabhupada, Volume 1, Srila Prabhupada said to a reporter that the inhabitants of the moon would be almost invisible, as mentioned earlier. Invisible to our gross senses. Now, of course, 4 factors of our gross body, our material body includes space, air, fire, water and earth and so forth. Our subtle body, okay, so the pranas, mind, intelligence, memory and ego, it does not necessarily made of matter or atoms. The universe is a cosmic tree. Let's try to understand the universe as a cosmic tree with its root upwards and its branches downwards. At the top we have Lord Brahma, the creator. At the top of the tree we have subtle forms come first, mainly made of mind and intelligence, and as we work further down, more grosser forms, mainly made of earth, water and fire. Now those at the top can see the whole picture, but as we work our way down the creational path, one can only see what is below one and not above. Using this now as a branch, one of those branches near the bottom of the tree to represent the physical location of the moon. And there's the moon, the celestial moon, and the same branch, but slightly lower down, is Rahu. With Rahu, of course, indeed, we do see a place of grey dust and craters and the traditional scientific moon there, and the celestial moon, of course, is the Vedic one there, wonderful place, heavenly realm. Now this could be comparable to comparing a 2-dimensional object there, on one hand, with a 3-dimensional one. Same physical location, but the vision is different. This can be compared with, let's say, looking at with the Rahu, looking at a 2-dimensional version of a city, just seeing the map, whereas the celestial moon represents the 3-dimensional view of that same city. And if we do ever see anything with our gross level senses and the dusty grey moon with evidence of alien life, in that case it's more likely to belong to Rahu, which means creatures of a more demoniac nature, so don't mess about there. Anyway, I hope that's explained something a bit more about the celestial moon and Rahu. Thank you very much for watching. Take care now.